1811 4000। यही कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन।
Welcome to the Economic Times Avaya Global Connect Customer Responsiveness Panel Discussion. Now, this is a prelude to the Avaya Global Connect Customer Responsiveness Award. And in this round of the panel discussion, we're going to discuss first what are the winning strategies that companies need to adopt in order to become leaders in the sphere of customer responsiveness. And we are also going to take you through the step-by-step process of how the awards are actually constituted and the winners finally decided. So let me start by first introducing Professor Jankiraman, who's a professor at IIM Kolkata. He's also been a key member. In fact, he's been the person who actually came up with the model on which the Avaya Global Connect Awards are actually based on. Thanks, Professor, for joining us. And also joining us on the panel discussion today is Sukant Shrivastava from Converges, which is, of course, at the forefront of the call center side of the business and really makes that direct connection with the customer. To my right, I have Mr.Umesh from AC Nielsen, which actually goes out and gets us the important data points right from the customers and the key clients of their experience with regards to the companies who have been nominated. Ernst & Young, from there, I've got Sachin Tayal. Remember, Ernst & Young are the auditors for the entire process. And finally, I've got Nandu Rajadhayx from Eureka Forbes. Eureka Forbes was the winner in the consumer durables category last year. So that comprises my list of panelists on this particular discussion. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me on the show. For Converges, what has been the winning strategy? Because clearly you are there at the forefront of the touch point with the end customer.
Absolutely. So if you look at our business and the service that we provide, we talk to our customer's customer. To bring that to light, if we were to do work with a telecom company, their customers would call us or our employees to gain service and support and get their requirements fulfilled. Research is showing that more and more consumers are promoting customer experience as why they would buy or choose not to buy from a particular brand.
And you've recently started taking on Indian clients as well,
yes,
catering to their customers.
Absolutely.
Is that a different, more demanding, less demanding experience?
The demand is upcoming. So in many situations, the Indian consumer is screaming for more because their buying capacity, their purchasing capacity has increased, but the quality of service they receive when they call their cell phone operator or they call their dish operator, they're not getting the same level of service and responsiveness and resolution, but they're still paying big bucks as compared to the last previous era.
Right.
So their expectation that there's a pent-up demand for better experience.
Okay, let me bring in somebody who really has learned to know, or rather has been, getting first-hand information of how the Indian customer has evolved, especially over the last 28 years. And that's the winner, as I said, of last year's category in the consumer durable space, Nandu Rajadhayx, who represents Eureka Forbes. And I'm sure that's a brand that all of us are familiar with. Nandu, take us through really what's been the challenge and the winning strategy for you, because you've moved up in scale, you've moved up across categories and geographies as well within the country. Really, what's been the key challenge and how have you overcome it?
I like to take you back 28 years when we first knocked the door. I like to take you back because if you appreciate the DNA of this company, we have a logo which says your friend for life. And when you have a friend at the door, I mean, the kind of sincerity, the kind of willingness to share, to accept mistakes is at a higher level than somebody who wants to sell for the day and move out. So when you are so much at the core of your customer relationship, that you don't have to think twice, should I respond to him next week or this week or today or this hour? I think that's the level of discipline we have brought into the company over 28 years, which has helped us grow, which has helped us reach out, which has helped us shrink the response times, which has helped us improve our products so there's less load on service. which has made super brands of AquaGuard and HeroClean, vacuum cleaners, and we are now into security systems. So basically, when you touch your customer, you're sincere to him, I think he responds to you, and we have many more 2-3-year contracts on our AMCs.
But have you done constant analysis of the
Yeah.
customer in that sense,
Yeah.
using technology to really, hone it down to understand what he's telling you?
Yeah. Eureka Forbes looks at the customer as the center core of our purpose. Like Gandhiji used to say, he's not an interference in my job. He is the purpose of my job. Right? So if you have the customer at the core of your business and you have the 3 link points who contact him, one is your salesperson or your Euro champ, one is your service, like he said, the relationship, getting the experience out, and the third is your product. These are the 3 touch points we see that we always hold the customer in this triangle. Because
and clearly you're doing something right.
Yeah, if any one of this professor we are weak in, that customer is out to competition.
Well, you mentioned the professor. Let me turn to Professor Jankiraman, because you've helped evolve the model for the award. I mean, the metrics on which you actually judged Eureka Forbes, for instance. How does the award really work in coming out with that winning composition?
Yeah. So, there are 2 components in this. We are saying customer responsiveness. Let us look at the customer first. As Mr. Shrivastava is also mentioning about it, they are evolving. The expectations, satisfaction, the experiences are evolving over a period of time, and they are becoming more and more demanding, right? And it is dynamic. That means if you want to target a dynamic target, it is much more difficult. So responsiveness means you are basically chasing a dynamic target. So the system is also complex. When you say responsiveness, the entire process or the phenomenon is complex. So we have to capture all the facets of that phenomenon. To capture that, first, responsiveness, we need to have some more clarity. You have to be proactive as well as reactive. If you are just reactive, you are going to lag behind. So you have to be proactive. So responsiveness has to be proactive and reactive. So responsiveness supported by this customer intelligence, disseminating that knowledge to the entire organization or the organization which are serving the customers, and educating the customers so that they will use the product or service better, right? And the entire thing is going to happen in the organization infrastructure, right? The entire thing has to be driven by the top management, right? Otherwise, it is not going to sustain, right? So what is the top management commitment is one of the major factors that we'll be looking at, right? The second one is some other readiness. Company has to be continuously innovative. Otherwise, suddenly you cannot become responsive. If you have the habit, if you have that in DNA, you can have solutions developed quickly, or if you have the solution somewhere, you can pull that and you can offer to the consumer. So innovative organizations is another important issue, right? Then organization has to continuously learn. It is not only from the customers, maybe from the technology arena, from some other area, so that they'll be ready to do that. How much they adapt the technology, all these things will be making the company ready to respond to the consumer.
Let me turn to you, Umesh. What's the big picture looking like? Because here you've got, we just heard from Mr. Shrivastava about how the Indian customer has evolved. He's expecting a lot more. He's impatient. He wants to go up there. But is there a lot of frustration as well because he's not getting that, that service delivered? I mean, just take us through some of the findings.
Sure. Like the professor mentioned that customer relationship or customer satisfaction is a moving target that adds to the whole complexity of it. And the pace of that change, the pace at which that target is moving is so rapid now as compared to a few years back. And that's another dimension of complexity to it. For example, product differentiation was something that company used to fight on, but that's no longer valid. You have a product innovation now, half a day later, competition is ready with that. So how do we differentiate? So service aspect is the differentiation. Now, in the advanced countries like the Western countries, this difference has evolved over the years. But here in India, we see that happening over last 5 years or so.
True.
Now, service element of the whole relationship aspect is so critical The product is just one dimension of it, like Nandu mentioned. It's just one corner of the triangle. Other two dimensions of the sales and the service, that's just pure service, the human contact of it.
Right.
So that's how it has evolved. And talking about the parameters, the parameters over the years have changed over the softer dimensions of the relationship. The hard dimensions of product quality, the consistency are weighed down in relative importance. It's how the company responds on the softer issues are far more critical today.
Sachin, I want to bring you in here because here you're auditing the entire process. And, in your experience, for instance, and this award has been on for about 4 years or so. In your experience, as you gauge the entire process and the findings that are coming in from companies, has there been a sort of a tectonic shift, so to speak? I mean, in terms of the companies pacing up and really, realizing the fact that, this is a customer that has actually grown up quite a bit or has experienced much more, say, over the past 5, 8, or maybe in the last decade, as opposed to what had happened in the previous decade?
Definitely. We have seen that there's been a lot of shift in when we started this program, and we have been involved with the Economic Times.
Is there certain verticals which have been more responsive?
I think definitely some of the verticals have been much more responsive than other verticals. And in B2B, the IT and BPO space, the way it has evolved and the way they have started tapping the Indian market and going after the Indian market and the government business, I think they have been quite responsive the way it has come up. Having said this, the customer responsiveness over this time, it has been quite consistent in terms of ramping up for all these categories. We would not be able to kind of just pinpoint that this particular sector or this particular one. I think it has been there for all across the categories. This is what our experience has been.
Okay, right.
One area missing is when you scale up. Though you have an intention to serve, you need a strong back end of technology. And we have been on SAP. So if there's a customer of AquaGuard who has signed up a year's contract, all right, we give them 2 mandatory services, all right. In the last month, the SAP will generate a list of clients whom the business partner has to service or renew the contracts. So the technology has to feed in when you want to, be on a moving target.
Just building upon that, proactive care in anticipating client or customer needs is becoming more and more important, as some of our colleagues here mentioned. And technology plays a key role because, there are channels through which a customer contacts a company, right? Be it phone, which comes to a call center, or go on the internet or SMS, or walk into a bank branch. And at the end of every channel, there has to be technology that can provide uniform experience across those channels. So if the call comes to the call center, the agent there should know that the same customer had visited their website and posted a question or made a request. Or if they go into a bank branch, they should know, Mr. So-and-so, you had called the bank 2 days ago with a request. I'm happy to say that we've already taken care of it. While you're here, can I renew your CD? Right. And connecting the dots and simplifying their life. I mean, I'm also a customer in the Indian market space. My family has 4 cell phone lines and 2 landlines with the same company, and I get 6 bills every month. Now, here's an opportunity to give me 1 bill.
1 bill, absolutely.
And make me write 1 check.
Would you pay for all the bills?
Yeah, I do, because I have to pay for my kids till they grow up.
But I think that's a valid point, and that's clearly something that needs to be looked at. The fact that you've got multiplicity of touch points, and even as a customer, I do get frustrated when I've just made a call and then I get another call asking me what the problem was. But be that as it were, let's get back to the awards, because here you've got 123 nominations, for instance, this year. You've got all these categories at play. Where are we as far as, when you sift down the process, what was the thinking with which you have these categories, but then to actually rate them under these metrics? Just take us through the process.
Basically, it is something like a funneling. We start with the nominations. It is announced.
And any company can nominate itself.
On their own. They can go to the website and fill the form, and they can nominate on their own. The same form asks for list of consumers, a list of customers, their list basically for B2C it is about 50 customers they have to specify, and for B2C, B2B they have to specify 20 customers, and that is the first process. Once that is there, that based on the responses from the questionnaire, they are rated first, and the top 5 are selected, and the next stage, those customers are, from the top 5 nominated companies, the customers are surveyed.
Right.
Actually, no, as I mentioned earlier, consumers or customers have to say that this company is responsive, not that I am claiming that I am responsive. Right?
And that's where AC Nielsen comes in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here you've got the sample lot actually decided by the company, is it? Or am I getting it wrong?
Not the lot, but when we ask them, let's say, for a B2C company that you give us list of 50 of your customers, so there's a certain leeway at their end that who they select to be part of that's 50. But 50 is fixed by us. Who in those 50 is up to them.
And that's when you go out and you sort of analyze that survey. Sachin, and then the intelligence, the Economic Times Intelligence Group comes in, ETIG.
Absolutely. So we work back with the ET Intelligence Group, wherein they do the peer evaluation. So they have got 2 to 3 for each industry category. You've got 10 such industry categories. And then they will rate and identify these top 5 companies which will be there for each of these categories. And then to add to your point, though the companies are giving their top 50 names, there is a reader poll which is attached,
I see.
which is then advertised in the Economic Times, and it is there on the web where you can have these readers go and poll about this particular company, whether they are responsive or not. And our role is, I mean, last year we got more than 60,000 plus kind of responses. And our role is to look at and validate whether the responses which are coming, are they from the same number? Are they from the same address? Is there any rigging going on? So we will verify and check and then look at the tabulation which is done by AC Nielsen and team, and look at the tabulation which is there, whether it is correct to come up with a rating. So you see, you've got the ETIG score. You've got
and you've got the AC Nielsen.
You've got the AC Nielsen score, which is the customer survey, and you have got the reader score, reader poll. So you've got these 3 score setting, and then there is a next step as well.
Let's also discuss, going back to the issue of strategies that work. And Sukant, let me bring you in here, because clearly it's a very competitive market, as you said, and companies have to be on the edge there, trying to respond very quickly. Be reactive as well as proactive. I mean, share with us your thoughts on that aspect, because clearly, as you said, you are actually a third-party provider, and typically there's another company whom you're providing your services to, whose DNA your employees have to absorb.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you've been doing that successfully, obviously, for many years.
Yes.
But, I mean, what's the strategy there?
Well, the strategy is simple and straightforward, but there's a lot of investment in training and coaching and development and knowledge updates of our employees, so that they don't only get the coming in or the initial hiring training, they're keeping themselves updated as our clients are changing their products and policies, etc.
Do you also sort of address their performance related to the customer responsiveness, in the sense, is it connected to a key sort of KRA of theirs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
CSAT is an acronym for customer satisfaction.
Right.
Is a key metric on our employees' scorecard.
So I'm just going to ask for closing comments and thoughts from all of our panelists right here. Let me start with you, Professor. In terms of your thoughts, here you are at the forefront of an award, which is an important metric to judge what is clearly of rising concern amongst companies. Where do you think we are at right now as far as the Indian scenario is concerned?
Yeah, from the Indian scenario, basically the competition has really increased in the last 5-6 years, maybe we can say 10 years, which is actually forcing most of the companies to become much more responsive to the customers.
Right.
If you ask the same question maybe 10 years ago,
so it's competition that's been the trigger.
Yeah, competition really drives the
market,
industry towards customer responsive. Just 2 things that I want to add here. When we say generating customer intelligence, it is not the existing customers that we are talking about. There can be a lot of customers who are there, but as of now you are not serving. Most of the customers, even urban customers, they may not be able to articulate their needs. When you see the usage condition, then you may get much more insights, right? The instrument actually checks those kind of things. Whether you go out and observe things, not just respond to the consumers already you are dealing business with, right? So be proactive in getting intelligence also. Observe the consumers
a
directly.
customer feedback form is not always the best way to get information.
I was working in Calcutta a few years back, and Calcutta has iron in the water. So when I worked in Salt Lake and I saw the buildings with their pipes and having yellow on the wall, I got into the homes and the kitchens, and they were drinking that water. And that inspired us to develop a iron remover on that same aquasure, which was no product in the market. So that's how the learning takes place. But because we are in the home, because we are living with him in the kitchen, we are close to the customer.
Great. Umesh, again, from your perspective, you gave us some important insights. Leave us with your thoughts.
Well, two things here. When we started getting into cassette line of business, when we went to clients, we started a presentation with an argument why they should do a customer satisfaction measurement study. Today, that line isn't there at all. They know why they have to do it. They appreciate the importance of that, and they ask us what value add can you.
When did you use that line? How many years ago?
That was in 94, 95.
Okay.
That's when I started my career in research. That and second part is the technology bit. Now, technology is something that all of us are in awe with, and it's something that it is slightly, if I may say, misused in this particular CRM context. They feel that if I install a very sophisticated bit of technology in my system, I have done the CRM bit. But no, technology is just a tool,
it's just an enabler.
CRM has to be here, vision has to be there. I feel that maybe the neighborhood Kirana store has a better CRM vision. He knows which house has how many members, what do they buy every month, which brand of toothpaste the younger son prefers. He delivers at home, and can you beat it, he gives you credit as well. But he doesn't have any technology to do that.
So, don't just think that technology, once you've implemented that. I think that's a very important point that you've made. Sachin?
I would like to endorse all the views which you are getting here, and definitely customer responsiveness and these awards have been the front runners in recognizing. But my view is, over a period of time, the customer responsiveness will kind of move to an era where having a CRM and having the call center is going to help you generate the revenue, because that is the time you're closest to the customer when he's calling you for a resolution. And there'll be a time when you will see that when you're touching that customer, you are able to identify the solutions. I think, like the way Sukant mentioned, I think that's the time, that's an era which is going to come as well.
So as you said, a lot has evolved over the past 3 decades or so. But, there's still a lot more to be done, because generally customers are complaining. I'm not saying for your industry, but across verticals.
Sure. And I remember my MD say that if the customer is not complaining, Nandu, he has not used your product. Okay? And I come back to what you said. I wish a technology is born and we develop, or somebody develops, helps us, to link all those touch points so that there's no duplication or that frustration to a customer. Because when we take calls, we have to be a good listener, not argue. Listen, put ourselves in his or her shoes, all right? Tell her that we'll solve the problem. Sometimes that spare may not be available, all right? So it will take time. We have to get a buy-in and then follow through and keep the promises.
Gentlemen, I think it's been great having you. I wish we could extend time on this discussion, but unfortunately, we'll have to wrap it up here. All the very best for the nominations and for the awards. And of course, the Economic Times will be there every step of the way. With that, we come to the end of this round of the panel discussion of the Economic Times Avaya Global Connect Customer Responsiveness Series. And we look forward to taking you with us on the journey all the way to the awards. Thanks for joining us.